The world needs heroes, and Overwatch got a lot of them.
You know, the world could always use more heroes.
This game by Blizzard has quickly become one of the studio's flagship series, and has done so thanks to its long list of interesting characters. Each character deals with the advanced future in different ways, each with their own lore as well as dedicated fan base. With Overwatch 2 on the horizon and no new characters coming out for a while, we feel it's time to talk about the morality of this interesting cast. Hey guys, I'm Brad with One Up Binge, and today is Overwatch, Good to Evil. As usual, we're starting from the top of the list and diving deep into the depths of the bad and evil category. These are the good. Omnic monk Zenyatta takes the gold medal of good. Zenyatta was a monk for the Shambali movement, only leaving when he had enough of their dogmatic teachings. Zenyatta would rather have humans and Omnics come together through personal connection and engagement. Zenyatta, like many Omnics, is discriminated against by humans, but even with that, he will protect the innocent, human and Omnic alike. He doesn't discriminate against humans or the Vishkar Corporation like other Omnics do. He accepts Symmetra when she came to help a temple on behalf of them. He also helped Genji get used to and accept his cyborg body, despite Genji's initial rejection. He wants to heal the world by bringing humans and Omnics together, and he is by far the most likely to do so it's only fair that he gets the gold. Heroes never die, and that's all thanks to Mercy. Mercy is a peerless healer, a brilliant scientist, and a stark advocate for peace, and is your go-to support. She wrote a thesis about nanobiotic healing, which revolutionized the field of medicine and got her into Overwatch purely on a scientific level. Her purpose was always to help people, and despised the militaristic approach that Overwatch would take. Even though she hated Overwatch's military aspects, she still tried to mend the rift in between Jack and Gabriel, trying to keep it together for the good of the people. Even after Overwatch's collapse, she still spent her time trying to help people. She worked as a doctor in Egypt, even though she was told that no one wanted the help of someone from Overwatch. She dropped everything during one of her missions to help trapped children. Even though she was against the initial restoration of Overwatch, she still helped Winston and the rest during Null Sector's attack on Paris. Next is Reinhardt. Reinhardt was a member of the group called the Crusaders, which are a group of soldiers much like the Knights of old, who protect the innocent and destroy evil. Reinhardt was a highly decorated soldier of the German armed forces who lived under codes of honor, valor, and justice. Reinhardt was headstrong and disobeyed orders, rushing into battle against the Omnics, which caused him to lose his eye and witness the death of his mentor. With his mentor's death, he joined Overwatch and became one of the original members of the Strike Force. Reinhardt sticks by his codes, saving the gravely injured Tornborn during Operation White Dome and protecting the innocent even after his mandatory retirement. He saved the town from a scavenging group known as the Dragons, and while apprehensive to rejoin Overwatch, stated he would always answer the call. Despite how you may feel about her in the game, Mei is next. Mei was a respected and well-renowned climatologist who believed in preserving the world for future generations. She, alongside other climatologists, was part of a group who were dealing with problems in the Arctic at an Overwatch watchpoint. She went into cryostasis and was forced to stay asleep for almost a decade.
How long have we all been asleep?
While sleeping, she had gathered plenty of data on the climate, and when she woke up, she tried to get a head start on dealing with whatever problems may have occurred. Mei is always trying to help people, even saving nests of endangered animals on a glacier, or helping Overwatch defeat Null Sector in Paris. She was willing to give her life to protect the planet, and the only reason she ranks outside the top 3 is because she doesn't have enough screen time to place her higher. But that doesn't stop the amount of good she has done. Jumping into the next spot on our list is Winston. Winston is a genetically modified super intelligent gorilla who has always shown limitless curiosity. Winston grew up on the Horizon Moon Base and raised by a humanitarian doctor who taught him to see the world as it should be. Winston was one of the few animals on the Horizon Moon Base who didn't massacre the humans on board the base, which got him kicked out by the other animals. Winston was adopted by Overwatch and immediately started getting to work helping people, creating the Chronal Accelerator, which saved Tracer's life, stopping Talon from stealing Doomfist's gauntlet, and helping fight Omnics under Overwatch. The one bad thing about Winston is his primal rage, which has him lose all control and attack at random, which seems to only activate in the worst situations, such as Doomfist almost killing Tracer. But even his rage doesn't knock him down too many points, softly landing him here. Reinhardt's personal squire, Bridget, is next. Bridget is the youngest daughter of Tornborn and has taken up arms to protect those who are in need. Since she was young, she has wanted to be a part of Overwatch and be like her godfather Reinhardt and her father. But when she learned that Reinhardt was forced to retire, she had changed her mind and decided to help people by herself. When Reinhardt went back to saving people like the old days, Bridget requested to be his personal squire and help him save the world. Bridget wasn't against Reinhardt rejoining the new Overwatch, but even though she didn't like them, she helped Reinhardt destroy the Null Sector Omnics in Paris, saving hundreds of lives as well as doing so in Rio alongside other new members. She's as headstrong as her mentor and will rush into battle, and this can lead to problems down the line, hence her placement here. The quick-learning Omnic Echo lands in this spot on our list. Echo is an evolutionary robot programmed with a rapidly adapting AI that was built by an Overwatch scientist to help on strike missions. Echo showed promise on test runs, but wasn't put to use under fears of her becoming like the Omnics who betrayed humans. Following the death of Dr. Mina Lau, she was put into quarantine and left there for 5 or 6 years by the government. When she was freed by McCree, Lau's bodyguard, she rejoined Overwatch. Not only did she destroy multiple nullifiers in Paris, but distracted a Titan which led to its destruction and the saving of lives. She may be an echo of her creator, but she took all her good parts and amplified them to become one of the most heroic characters in Overwatch. Following Echo is D.Va, the pro gamer and Korean hero. D.Va was a former professional gamer who was hired by the Korean military so that she can pilot a mecha suit. But not only was she a great strategist because of her gaming skills, but she's also an amazing mecha pilot. D.Va never backs down, always playing to win, and she's damn good at it. However, she's burdened by the fact she's one of the only protectors of her home country and forced to live like that. She knows that Busan relies on her to protect them, and she was willing to lay her life on the line for the people that she needs to protect. She would not only give up her life for Busan, but she lost her mech and was heavily injured in her destruction of the Omnics that wanted to destroy Busan. She lands here in the good section of our list because of the self-sacrifice, even if it didn't lead to her death. Next, we have Pharah. Pharah comes from a long line of accomplished soldiers and grew up as the daughter of a top Overwatch soldier and has wanted to join the group since she was very young. She was trained so well by her mother that she easily joined the Egyptian military and became a top soldier quickly. Even though she was unable to join Overwatch, she would constantly save people as part of her military outfit. As she found out about her mother's supposed death, she got an Udjet tattoo just like her mother had, signaling her as Egypt's protector. Pharah was not only willing to save and protect Egypt like her mother, but she was also willing to lay her life on the line for her country. She stands as a perfect proponent for the good half of our list. Landing further down the list than expected comes Tracer. Tracer was hard to rank, especially since she's the face of the game.
Don't worry, loves. Cavalry's here.
Tracer was a member of the Royal Air Force in Britain and was an ace pilot. She's so good that she easily became the youngest member of Overwatch's flight crew. Even though Overwatch put her in the way of danger by having her pilot an experimental jet, she still loved and respected the team. She was forced into becoming a living ghost by the Slipstream and was only able to come back thanks to Winston. This didn't deter her. In fact, it strengthened her resolve, causing her to train to become an actual agent and not just a pilot. She tried to help the underground society of Omnics in London, attempted the execution of Omnic leader Mandata, stopped Talon from stealing Doomfist's gauntlet, and much more. The main reason she lands so low on the list is that she believes that one must do what is right, even if they must break the law, like becoming a vigilante. This doesn't take away too many points since she's still here in this half of the list, but it can lead to problems that thankfully Tracer hasn't fallen into. The Centaur Omnic, Oriza, stampedes into the next spot. Oriza hasn't appeared often, but she has made her mark on the world of Overwatch. Oriza is an Omnic created from scrapped OR-15 parts created by young tech genius Effie Oladel and was designed to protect her. Oriza then started to stand as the lone protector of Numbani and Effie, and she protects everyone in the city no matter how they feel about her or other Omnics. The hyper-intelligent hamster Wrecking Ball is next. Wrecking Ball, henceforth known as Hammond, is a witty and conniving hamster that, much like Winston, was experimented on in the Horizon moon base. Hammond is very smart, able to speak many non-human languages, and would easily escape to other parts of the moon base during tests to trick the scientist. However, when the uprising on the base happened, Hammond escaped alongside Winston to Earth and fell into the dangerous Australian outback. He lays this low because he doesn't have many heroic or evil feats, which leads him to this grayer part of the light side. International superstar Lucio skates into the next spot. Lucio is a musician and celebrity from Rio de Janeiro, who's well known to inspire change in his actions, and usually for good. Lucio grew up in a poor, crowded favela in Brazil that was hit hard by the Omnic crisis, but this didn't kill his spirit. Lucio cares for his home, calling for help from Overwatch when the Null sector attacks. His love for his favela was so great that he had to steal technology from the Vishkar Corporation when they wanted to rebuild his favela. This sonic technology was originally built by his father, so it's understandable, but he is the first character on this list to break the law for his beliefs. While the crime wasn't as bad as some of the ones later on, you still gotta dock him a few points. Rounding out the good section on the list is Ana, one of the original Strike Force commanders. Ana was one of the founding members of Overwatch, and like her daughter, comes from a long line of decorated soldiers. She joined the Egyptian military when she was young and was known as a protector of Egypt. She was also known as one of the world's deadliest snipers, and while she didn't like killing her targets, she always followed orders. Each life she took weighed heavy on her conscience, but despite this, she stayed on active duty well into her 50s. She saved multiple lives from Talon and would sacrifice herself for these people she would protect. After losing her eye and faking her death, she then became a mass vigilante known as Shrike. As Shrike, she was wanted for crimes of espionage, assault, and theft, and apparently committed multiple acts of violence under this guise. But despite her not having good feelings about Overwatch after its fall, she still helped her old comrade Jack, despite her not appreciating his war. She's a good soldier, and even though she hates killing, will do it for the good of the people, landing her right outside the gray. With Ana wrapped up, we can now get to the more morally gray characters on this list. Welcome to the gray area. Starting out in the gray area is everyone's favorite dwarf, Torbjorn. Torbjorn is one of the greatest engineers in the Overwatch universe. Torbjorn is also the original creator of many of the Omnics who rebelled and started the Omnic crisis. After the problems that were caused by his Omnics, he was cynical, saying that Omnics shouldn't have the same rights as humans. He also believed that all technology is built to serve a better version of humanity than the one now. He's also loyal to Overwatch and his friends, concerned about Reinhardt being forced out of Overwatch, even relaying this concern to his daughter Bridget. However, he's not all bad, because when the Rogue Bastion unit was roaming, he initially wanted to destroy it, but upon finding out that the unit was peaceful, he called off the hunt. Torbjorn is steadfast in his beliefs, but he doesn't stray from the facts. Fighting for Russia and Volskaya, Zarya takes the next spot. Zarya is one of the strongest women in the world and a soldier in the Russian Defense Forces. Zarya has given her life to protect Russia and its people, especially from the perceived threat of the Omnics. Zarya has always been distrustful of Omnics, much like Torbjorn. However, when she teamed up with the Omnic hacker Lynx, she abandoned her mission to save them from Sombra, showing her growth and change. Zarya is strong-willed and definitely deserves her spot among the top of the gray area. Sigma is next. Sigma was a researcher in the field of gravity and found many interesting facts about how black holes work. However, due to being too close to a black hole, he was mentally destroyed and was forced into an asylum for a while. Talon broke him out and brought him into the fold and started controlling him like a puppet. Sigma has no control over himself and is forced to do things, so most of his actions are not his own. So we can't morally rank him much lower than this place on the list. Symmetra is next. Symmetra is one of the Vishkar Corporation's go-to engineers in hard-light tech and does not doubt that the Vishkar Corporation's intentions are correct. Symmetra grew up in poverty and was plucked from poverty by Vishkar to become one of their engineers. Vishkar used her as a front for the company's business missions while doing their nefarious work under the table. Symmetra does dubious actions for her company, despite who they might hurt, such as stealing blackmail material from another company. While she is a puppet for Vishkar, her personal morals prevent her from falling further down the list. Symmetra saved children from falling debris, stayed behind in a temple to learn from Zenyatta, and even rebuilt the temple by herself. She falls below Sigma because most of her actions are done voluntarily instead of being forced. He ain't good, he ain't bad, he's McCree, and he's solid gray. McCree is currently a gunslinger for hire, but will only take on jobs that he finds as just. McCree was once part of the Deadlock Gang, a criminal gang that committed multiple burglaries and other high crimes. After being apprehended by Overwatch, he was convinced by Reyes to join the Black Ops group, Blackwatch. By joining Blackwatch, McCree thought he could make up for his crimes and make amends, so he went on many missions with the team. Even though he followed Reyes' orders, he still felt uneasy about the execution of Bartoli, which caused a massive media blowout. McCree freed Echo so that Overwatch could have a true hero with them, since he didn't feel like one. McCree broke a lot of laws on his way to where he is now, but he deserved his redemption arc. Retired war hero, Soldier 76, is next. A military man from a young age, 76 was part of a super soldier program that enhanced all his physical abilities tenfold. 76 became the main leader of Overwatch and commanded the strike teams. He wanted to do everything by the book but would break rules if need be, such as sending out an unsanctioned mission to London. Even after leaving Overwatch, he would still protect people, shielding a child from a grenade blast and foiling bank robberies. But despite these facts, he was still the target of an international manhunt for his vigilante actions against shady corporations. And despite having a large bounty on his head, he still protected the innocent. He lands this low because he still breaks the law to do whatever he needs to do to further his agenda, but at least it's an agenda for good. Next is the playable Bastion combat unit. Bastion was once a frontline soldier for the Omnic Crisis and was programmed to kill humans for the Omnics. However, due to a bunch of problems that happened to them, Bastion lost all of his combat programming. After losing his combat programming, he started to grow attached to nature, especially the small bird Ganymede, although his combat programming is still innate, as he destroyed parts of the forest after being startled by a woodpecker. He also started to show a whole breadth of emotion, which brings him up some points. The main reason he doesn't fall lower is because he was a slave to his programming, which stops him from falling too far, but his actions are no less heinous. Next is Combat Medic Baptiste. Baptiste is an ex-Talon member, an elite combat medic who possesses an innate desire to help people. Baptiste originally joined the Caribbean Coalition to help people since he could never join Overwatch. He was eventually picked up by the terrorist group Talon. Baptiste didn't know the truth behind Talon and fully believed that they were doing the right thing. And once he found out their true nature, he left Talon to help people his way. He may have hurt civilians under orders, but he wasn't fond of it, and stopped himself from executing one of Talon's opponents. Baptiste lands this low because he has committed a number of crimes, but doesn't fall further because he has tried to atone for his crimes. The cyborg ninja, Genji, is the next character on our list. Genji is the youngest member of the Shimada crime family, who are known to run guns and drugs in Japan. Genji never fell in line with the criminal empire and preferred the playboy lifestyle that came with his family's money. After a fight with his older brother, he was assumed dead and cyberized by Overwatch to stay alive. After being cyberized, he assassinated Bartoli and Talon soldiers, having no sympathy for them during the Blackwatch mission. Genji fought his brother in their old home, and even though he initially hated his robotic body, he accepted himself and forgave his brother. Genji is the go-to example of someone who's not evil, but misunderstood, and after meeting Zenyatta, he has calmed down a lot. Rounding out the gray area is Genji's older brother, Hanzo. Hanzo grew up as the heir to the Shimada crime family and the criminal empire it had a hold on. Hanzo originally tried to lead his younger brother into joining the crime family, but when he couldn't, he was forced to seemingly kill his brother. After supposedly killing his brother, he swore off using the sword as a show of regret and respect for his brother, showing that he can change. He was then made an enemy of the Shimada clan, running and hiding from them for the rest of his life. However, he still regrets his decision to kill his brother, sneaking into the castle to respect his brother's death every year. He ranks lower than Genji because he actually committed all the crimes the family asked of him, and his crimes are some of the worst in the gray area. Now that the gray area is finished, we're heading down to the depths of our list. This is the bad to evil area. Starting off the bad to evil is Deadlock Queen Ashe. Ashe is the ambitious and calculating leader of the Deadlock Gang, and one of the most charismatic villains in the series.
Been a while.
She was born into a rich family and grew up surrounded by the privileges that are caused by that. However, as she grew older, she started to act out and got arrested multiple times during her teenage years. She would consistently commit heists across the globe and kill other gang members during gang wars, which drags her down pretty bad. However, the reason she ranks at the top of this list is the fact that, unlike some other characters in this area, she has a strict moral code. She stands by her moral standings, always punishing betrayal, keeping her word, respecting territory, and not working with the police. She has the most moral standing out of the villains in this section. Hooking himself into the next section of the list is Roadhog. Roadhog, much like most of the Junkers, was displaced in the Outback by the Omnic Crisis. Roadhog was one of the first people to join or form the Australian Liberation Front to destroy the Omnics taking over the Australian Outback. Roadhog was one of the people alive long enough to watch the Outback become a desolate wasteland and had to live with the problems that are caused by that. It wasn't until Junkrat and Roadhog started working together did he become an enemy of the Junker Queen. The two of them were responsible for hundreds of crimes from assault to murder, which brings him down to this level. He ranks lower than Ash because he doesn't have the same moral principles as she does. But his partner Junkrat doesn't lag far behind. Junkrat is a maniac obsessed with explosions and tops multiple most wanted lists around the world. Junkrat was kicked out of Junkertown by the Queen for getting into bar brawls, stealing her money, and blowing up her property. After being kicked out of Junkertown, Roadhog and him were responsible for a string of robberies, arsons, and murders that got large bounties on their heads. He may be insane, but he's also shown to be insanely clever, learning secrets about Omnium that got him rich. While he is kinda crazy, he's definitely not as bad as some of the other people down the list. He ranks below his bodyguard because he seems to be the one leading the two of them on their crime spree, which makes him more responsible. Talon Headhunter and Sniper Extraordinaire, Widowmaker swings into our next spot. Widowmaker is a patient, ruthlessly efficient killer who assassinates whoever she's told to without a second thought. Widowmaker was kidnapped, tortured, and brainwashed by Talon into a sleeper agent who was to kill her husband, who was a high-ranking Overwatch agent. After killing her husband, she disappeared and stayed with Talon, committing multiple heinous acts like killing Mandata, the peacekeeping Omnic, or shooting Ana through one of her eyes. Widowmaker ranks relatively high for committing the act she has, but she was tortured and brainwashed into the state she's in. However, despite her being brainwashed at first, it's telegraphed heavily that she now works with them out of mostly free will, since she still works with them and finds that her killing of Mandata was one of her best. Talon hacker and general nuisance, Sombra, ranks next. Sombra is one of the world's most prominent hackers who uses information to manipulate people in power. Sombra was orphaned in the Omnic Crisis, being taken in by Los Muertos. Throughout her childhood and teenage years, she helped her gang in their self-styled revolution, harming hundreds of people. She then started hacking politicians, corporations, and governments on her quest of justice. She later joined Talon and became one of their premier members, hacking important officials to air their dirty laundry and get them in trouble. She's left multiple bodies in her path, from nameless Volskaya soldiers to almost killing Zarya and Lynx in an explosion. Sombra is definitely less evil than some members on this list, but is unquestionably immoral. Taking our bronze medal of evil is the Talon scientist, Moira. Moira is a well-known genetic engineer who stands on the cutting edge of her field. Moira was made famous because of her infamous paper about changing DNA on a cellular level, which puts her at odds with most of her peers. Moira was known for going to any length to make sure she could make scientific breakthroughs, even if they were immoral. Even though Moira's reputation was destroyed, Blackwatch still hired her thanks to Gabriel Reyes. Moira started to experiment on Gabe, making his cells constantly regenerate and degenerate, leaving him in a constant state of agony. Not only that, but she supported Bartoli's execution, which led to the massive media fallout that murdered Overwatch's reputation. It was found out later that she was also working for the terrorist organization Talon, high enough to be in the inner council and making decisions for them. Moira is two-faced and immoral, using people and pulling their strings, which makes her very evil, but she's only third place. Appearing in our silver medal spot goes to none other than global terrorist and Talon Field General Reaper. Reaper was once known as Gabriel Reyes, a super soldier who fought alongside Jack Morrison in the Omnic Crisis. He was a brutal fighter, even when he was young. and this caused him to lose the leader spot for Overwatch, which he was thankful for. He was experimented on by Moira, causing him to live in constant agony, but giving him interesting new powers. Reaper was always headstrong, assassinating political leaders during Blackwatch missions, or leading a rebellion against Morrison, causing the Swiss base to explode. After the fall of Overwatch, Reaper joined Talon and started running missions for them, committing terrorist attacks and multiple murders throughout the world. Reaper also carried around a list of ex-Overwatch agents he was looking to eliminate, and succeeded in destroying most of them. Reaper fashions himself after the Arbiter of Death and lacks many morals. But there's still one more character that surpasses him. The gold medal of evil goes to Doomfist. Doomfist was the heir to a prosthetic company and a lover of martial arts, competing in martial arts tournaments from a young age. Doomfist lost his arm during the Omnic Crisis, and this forced him to stop competing in tournaments. After losing his arm, he overcorrected and joined Talon as the second Doomfist apprentice. Doomfist searches for power at every avenue, killing his mentor to take up the Doomfist mantle and rising through into the inner council of Talon. Doomfist is a cold-blooded murderer who ripped Tracer's chronal accelerator from her body, threw Viali off a bridge, and turned an entire city into a war zone. Doomfist may believe that plunging the world into chaos will make the human race stronger, but the path of bodies behind him would probably disagree. Alright guys, what do you think? Did a member of Talon deserve to be higher? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite games. But most importantly, stay wicked.